voilà, bonjour. Aujourd'hui, bon matin, nous adresse incisé qui est pertinent ici, c'est récemment, nous avons beaucoup de conversations sur Topik et ça, c'est bon lycée Iran. Mais par contre, nous pouvons aussi analyser un petit peu la situation. Récemment, il y a un spécialiste qui vient ici, Cécile, qui est une cause en partenariat avec le gouvernement Cécile. C'est tout le côté ministère de l'Agriculture, côté un bon projet qui peut mettre en place, excusez, et aussi une évaluation, premièrement, l'investigation qui peut faire pour regarder un petit peu qui bonne solution nous capable pour ça ben lycée Iran, mais aussi par contre et dit que nous peuple le rôle et responsabilité qui nous en a les nous décider pour nous adopter les animaux. So, on this note, mesdames et messieurs, aujourd'hui, on a deux invités. Premièrement, on a sa spécialiste qui est venue et lui, nous pour conduire nos conversations en anglais. Nous aussi, on a Miss Jura, sorti côté le ministère de l'Agriculture, lui qui nous propose en créole avec nous aujourd'hui bon matin. Jura, dis-moi, les affaires pour venir aujourd'hui bon matin, le bonjour Cécile. On va commencer, on va introduire mon premier famille de bonjour Cécile. Jura, bonjour, comment ça va?
Bonjour, mon bien, merci.
Un plaisir pour avec vous. Comment ça va? Ok là, c'est bon?
Yes, ok là.
Tout quelque chose en forme. Par exemple, on peut dire, Gira, Gira.
Gira.
Gira, ça, t'es pas de chorisme avec ça. Gira, alors, premièrement, mon pauvre aux actions, dites qu'a fait de l'eau qui me commence sur la journée, qui est commence sur la journée.
Ouais, moi, la journée commence quand matin.
Oui.
Dites noir, all the way.
Dites noir.
Yes, au
Pas
café
d'ici,
noir.
pas-
Non.
Ni d'ici, ni d'ilé.
Non.
Tous les deux, comme c'est café, comme ça. All right, so nous bousons notre invité pour aujourd'hui matin, ça c'est un spécialiste qui est emmené ici Cécile pour analyser un petit peu la situation le côté nous lycéens Iran et qui solution de l'effet nous pour prendre avec ces bons animaux et ça c'est pas l'autre qui est spécialiste de wildlife. I'm pretty sure you pick up on the words there. How are you, Dr. Hardy?
Thanks. I'm very well, thank you.
Pleasure to meet you and welcome to the Seychelles.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Oh, well, there you go. She's learning. All right. So you're from Scandinavia.
That's correct.
All
yeah.
right. And you're a specialist in wildlife.
Yes, that's it.
But
yeah.
before we get in all of this very formal conversation, and of course, our conversations related to stray dogs, but we're a bit nosy here on the morning show. So how do you start your morning? Tea, coffee, water, and what time do you start your morning?
I am an early bird, so I normally wake up quite early. I start at 5 o'clock with a cup of coffee.
With a cup of
Yep.
coffee. Milk sugar or just black coffee?
Whatever is available.
Whatever's available.
I'm not that picky.
You're not picky.
No.
But you're not a tea lover?
Yes, also that.
Also
Yeah,
that?
Yes.
So
yes.
I suppose it depends on how the day is going.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So, no. Gira. Yes. Gira, lycée Iran, il y a une conversation qui nous a fait beaucoup de ça dans l'année qui passée. Et là, of course, pareil, nous voit Thérèse vient ici, Cécile, pour donner un petit peu son expertise. Peut-être quoi qu'il bouge ministère pour prendre une telle décision pour emmener le pays et qui nous peut respecter, pareil, nous dit, à travers son expertise.
Okay, so well, a minister in ça pas devant.
Oui.
As you know, les mondes peut évoluer.
Okay.
Nous, as a unit animal welfare, il y a une façon qui nous peut travailler qui back up to the old days, old techniques.
Okay.
So, un step forward qui nous envie faire, il servi modern tactics pour nous capables d'entrer Iran.
Oui.
So, li even avec bonne facilité moderne.
Oui.
This is trapping at a long distance using dart guns, blowpipes.
Okay.
Et nous amener pour les capables train nous bon staff pour nous capables faire effectivement et in a human way and in a safe way. À cause nous besoin safety for the animals and the staff.
Okay.
Nous besoin considérer tous les deux côtés.
Oui.
Les nous peut travailler dans un bon setting commun, surtout en dehors le field.
Oui.
Yes.
Et surtout, parfois, là, nous pouvons regarder aussi, nous pouvons analyser la situation, quand ça bon animaux est basé. Et parfois, dans l'endroit, quand il y a beaucoup moins de public, so, définitivement, ça l'aspect qu'on prend en considération et peut-être aussi le côté time frame qu'il est, nous pratiquons ça bon exercice.
Yes, nous, of course, nous travaillons le time frame. À cause, pareil, là, en ce moment, nous disons, nous avons l'opération qui nous peut faire.
Okay.
nous faisons un assessment avant, nous faisons trapping. Nous avons besoin de connaître qui est peak hour qui nous peut joindre telle quantité d'animaux.
Oui.
Et quelque chose nous notice is early morning and evening.
Ah bon.
Si nous pouvons faire imposer pareil dating,
Oui.
nous pouvons preferably faire evening, could you know less movement into town. As you know, early morning, everybody's going to work,
Oui.
so movement, yeah, bon, nous pas pour consider faire dating at an hour like that.
Yeah. So, ça, il y a différents quelque chose qui se peut
Yes.
mettre en tête et prendre précaution, pareil, nous dit, pas juste pour la santé des animaux, mais précaution pour la santé humaine aussi. Hein. C'est pareil, Gérard dit, il y a différents quelque chose qui est besoin de prendre en compte si tous les autres peuvent faire un exercice comme ça. Now, on nous regarde un petit peu. Therese, I'm going to come to you now. Of course, you've been called in to help us. I will say it's simple as that, to help us deal with this problem. And it is certainly an issue. The amount of stray dogs in Seychelles, it's quite alarming in certain areas. What are some of the key areas you'll be focusing on or you've focused on during, because this is first of all an evaluation process, isn't it?
Yes, that's it.
All
yeah.
right. So what are we expecting through this evaluation process?
Well, so first of all, it's actually very important to understand that the feral dog problem
Yes.
or challenge, you can look at it like an iceberg.
Okay.
So on the top, on the very top, you have the actual feral, or you call them stray dogs,
Yes.
those who are almost like a wild dog.
Yes.
But they are only the top of the problem.
Okay.
So what we know from experience and other countries
Yes.
is that the most important thing is to actually stop the recruitment of
Okay.
new dogs into this system.
Yeah.
And in Seychelles, as well as a lot of other places, we have a big part of this dog population is what I would call unsupervised dogs.
Okay.
So it is actually a matter of there are dogs who are more or less cared for,
Yeah.
and this is one of the areas that we need to understand,
Yeah.
that we need to stop this recruitment of new dogs.
Yeah.
And then, as Dira said, there is also the part of actually working out how do we solve this part which we
Yes.
can't get to.
Okay.
So what we have been doing, we have been meeting with different stakeholders.
Yes.
And this is the same in Seychelles as in other places. There are animal welfare groups, which I find that the dialogue has been very, very productive. There are really a lot of good initiatives. So that it's having said that,
Yes.
I think it's a very good thing that the government reaches out both nationally to
Yes.
these stakeholders and internationally. So what you need is not somebody to come and tell you what to do,
Yes.
because there are already so many good initiatives here. The government, the animal welfare department, the SSPCA, the Pet Haven, all competent people working. And I'm very impressed by the commitment that I met. So this is the role is kind of to coordinate all these forces
Yes.
to work in the same direction, and then to train, education.
Yes.
So what we also will focus on is to train the animal welfare staff
Yes.
in how to handle these dogs that are really feral. So using modern techniques, as Gira explained, darting, and that has also been done, you know, in many years, and
Yes.
the equipment has changed.
Yes.
So in old days, you had darting with a great impact, making a huge actually
Yeah.
trauma on
Yeah.
the tissue. So modern technique now we can dart animals 2 kilos on a distance, and it's not so much different than if I would inject Gira with a syringe.
Okay.
So we have all these techniques, and that is one of the things that also will work together on.
Yes.
So it's animal welfare focus, but also, as Gira pointed out, a lot of it has to do with working safety.
Yeah.
Because we know that these dogs, we have a colleague sitting here out with her thumb that has been bitten, and we know that working with dogs, there are no stupid dogs. They are only reacting as a dog.
Yeah.
So when they get pushed, a lot of them try to escape. But when they can't escape, they will attack.
Yeah.
And this, of course, poses big challenges when you work with them, either if it's the Animal Welfare Department or if it's the SSPCA or Pet Haven. When you handle the dogs,
Yes.
there are so many modern techniques and methods, so you don't have to, augment or rise on the stress that the animals are having.
Experiencing, yes.
Yeah. So all these things actually educating about animal welfare,
Yes.
stress, aggression, techniques, but parallel to that, coordinating these fantastic forces that are already here in the seashells. That has been like the main task
Yes.
of this visit, to understand this. Yeah.
Kera, of course, mon contact qui Thérèse mentionnait, si tous les autres côtés, le animal welfare, ils ont beaucoup de training pour aider les autres, par exemple, des autres travail, pour attraper. Mais peut-être question fondamentalement publique pour demander, et nous connaissons dans les passés, une question qui est beaucoup élevée, un concern qui est élevé, qui peut arriver avec ça, les animaux? Est-ce qu'il nous peut aider pour mort ou soit nous peut aider pour place de bon endroit? Pareil, Thérèse nommé, il y en a peut-être, il y en a un spécial, il y en a aussi des autres endroits qui peut donner ben shelter ben animaux. So, qui m'a y a on cause sa technique, ça une nouvelle technique qui peut servir premièrement là.
Okay, well,
Nous peut servir technique pour éliminer complètement ou sinon nous peut emmener les autres dans l'endroit alternative.
well, darting is pas pour éliminer.
Okay.
Darting, what is using darting?
Oui.
As a vet, she can explain.
Yes.
Darting is to tranquilize it.
Okay.
Because as you may see in the past, les ou peut handle un lycien qui faz o noir de les passer catching pole.
Oui.
Et pareil, ou mettez la corde sur les coquins,
Oui.
ou débattre.
Oui.
Il fait un peu difficile pour bouger.
Oui.
So, les darting, once ou darting les animaux, on serve la tisane
Oui.
qui calme les autres.
Oui.
Is fairly facile pour handle, pour booster from one point to another point.
Est-ce qu'il peut dormir là, nous peut dire?
Yes.
Ça veut dire pareil, il y a des gens qui ont un anesthétique,
yes.
il peut dormir avant pour nous capables.
Actually,
It
she
is
can
the
explain
same.
anesthetic.
Yeah.
Yes,
je
Thérèse.
parle aussi le français,
Okay,
alors
oui.
je comprends un peu.
Oui.
Mais so it is actually the same drugs,
Yes.
the same amount.
All right.
So I've also worked in many years in small animal hospitals and
Yes.
clinics. So it would be the same amount of drug, the same type of drugs
Yes.
that I would administer to the dog.
Okay.
So it's kind of a prolongation of my arm.
Yes.
Either I would give it, as in a clinic, I would give it like this
Yes.
by hand. But now, so we will train the staff in how to administer these anesthetics
Yes.
on a long distance. So it's both in the field,
Yes.
but it's actually also in the pond or in the shelters, because you can't get to a dog which you have. I mean, there are different ways of trapping
Yes.
dogs. So darting is one way. What you're already doing is also capturing by traps.
Yes.
So these things go together. So dogs that are trapped in a kind of a cage, how do you get to them? You can't reach your arm in there,
Yes.
because you will get bitten. So then there are blowpipes and there are CO2 pistols. In that case, you would not use a dart rifle,
Yeah.
because the distance is too short. So then you could administer the drug safely to
Yes.
this dog, and then once it's asleep, 6, 7, 8 minutes, depending on the stress level, then you can, calmly take that dog out, take it for the vet who is working with you for the examination, do whatever you need to do, and then transfer it into the kennel.
Yes.
So this procedure now, it's not only here in the seashells.
Yes.
We see it everywhere. So this procedure now, you have to go to that dog, you have to catch it with a pole, you have
Yes.
to drag it all the way. So what you do is actually raising the stress and
Yeah.
actually raising the
And I
aggression
think
level.
It's kind of inhumane as well, isn't it, for the dog as well?
It is, but we learn and we understand more about animal welfare and animal stress.
Yeah.
So I think what you are doing here is actually unique, that the government is reaching out for coordination and for actually lifting what you're already doing to another level.
Yeah.
What I experience, and it's seen in a lot of places, is that the NGOs are addressing the government.
Yeah.
Look, you have to see this is the situation, this is the problem, and you try to reach the government.
Yes.
Right? Here the situation is the other way around, which I found very, very, it's unique, and that is something that is very promising, I think, that you gather these forces, to work together.
Now, I know your evaluation process is on the collection of the animals and ensuring that they are collected safely and of course, as you said, the part where they get examined, etc., etc. But what happened next? Are they placed in shelters or will they be put down? Because these are fundamental questions that I know the members of the public are going to be asking.
Of course.
What comes next after trapping the dogs or darting the dogs? And what next for the animal?
Yeah. So to answer that question, you need to go back to the recruitment of dogs, because you have to realize to actually solve this problem with, it's kind of a flooding, you know, going. So to solve this problem, you have to address, which you are already doing, the public awareness. To raise owner responsibility of dogs, to reach out. Our children, my children, they teach me about how to sort plastic, how to sort. So our children will be those who teach the parents about proper dog welfare and management. So this is the most important part of it, and I know that you're already working on that, both from the governmental side, also from Pet Haven, SSPCA, and so on. So the coordination of this and actually sending the same message out. But I think also that the responsibility of the public, c'est pas pour le gouvernement, hein? C'est pour chacun qui a un chien de prendre ce responsibility. Et puis, you can't say, I like a dog, but I haven't thought through, am I there for this dog? Do I have the finances to feed it? If the dog gets sick, do I have the finances to treat it? Do I have the finances to sterilize it? Because, you can look, there is interesting, actually, this pyramid, you look at 2 dogs. And then through the years, how many dogs come out of this dog if they, continue to breed. So this is the most important part. Education of the public. And I'm sure that the Seychellois, they understand that this is a responsibility for each and every one. So coming back to the question about the particular animals, well, there are certain animal welfare standard protocols that we will work on to judge, whether this animal is suitable, this particular animal is suitable for rehabilitation. Because what we see is that a lot of dogs that are really feral, they live almost, if you would take another species like African wild dog, the Lycaon pictus, which is not a domestic dog, but another species. But our domestic dogs that are actually living truly without any human contact, they get on the same wild level. So these animals will probably never be suitable to have in your home as your pet with your children. So these animals, that they will not have a good quality of life. These animals will have to be euthanized. But that is only the very top, of this whole pyramid. Because
certain decisions are hard, but it's necessary to be taken.
Look, it would be like taking a wild bird and putting it into a cage in our home and saying, that is for our sake, it's not for the animal. And it would be the same to do with these dogs, because they have had no contact with people. They have no, they are not domesticated. But again, this is a small number of the total number. And what we really need to do is to diminish the recruitment of these dogs.
Guerra, mon content qui Thérèse il fait sortir sa point recruitment of dogs et nous connaissons ici Cécile, il y a beaucoup de monde qui en ce moment nous appellent ça ben breeders. Qui peut-être nous peut faire pareil Thérèse dit oui nous dit là avec sa petit bouton là nous prend cas avec sa ben lycéen qui peut venir problème de plus en plus mais à the end of the day pareil Thérèse il explique nous sa bouton bas il peut continuer de mer c'est pour sa bouton là à cause il peut nous a des monde qui certains endroits c'est des propriétés nous peut cause 2, 3, 4, 5, par là au 10. So, est-ce que nous prenons un certain mécanisme qui vont mettre en place pour restricter l'activité, licence peut-être, en considération, et aussi peut-être banque qui paraît Thérèse expliqué. Il y en a banque qui nous pour besoin désormais de avec un certain moyen, mais banque qui est OK présent. Côte pour aller. Est-ce que nous pouvons mettre côte SSPCA, côte Pet Haven, un petit peu peut-être, en bref, on connaît peut-être nous pas vraiment prendre une décision, mais c'est moi qui donne une idée qui nous peut explorer par
capable dire. On commence par bonnes affaires license. As you know, nous already under nos regulations, no. Nous peut travailler as un nous plan pour nous educate du monde plus nous la loi qui nous déjà en place. Pour faire autres connaître quoi qui autres supposé et pas supposé faire et qui action pour gagner faire si autres pas abide to the regulation. This pareil as you know nous commence l'enregistrement ça est dated since 2021. Nous pouvons renforcer à cause nous still peut rencontrer bonne situation quand il y a dans certains gens qui peut refuser pour autres enregistrer les lichens. Ça y a quelque chose qui nous emphasise là. L'enregistrement il pour aider nous pour nous connaître nos populations pour nous lycéens si nous peut decrease si nous peut monter. Et nous avec nos statistiques.
Est-ce qu'il y a un petit peu de statistiques pour nous montrer? Comme si pour nous comparer avec l'année précédente?
Yes, nous avons statistiques à cause sa unit, il a point pélétant, autres fait autres statistiques, la quantité qui ont pu amasser le semaine, quantité qui en a du monde qui ont pu surrender à cause de pas occupé, de n'a pas le temps, de pas gagner l'endroit pour mettre, so we take them in. As for que d'autres pour gagner mettre, nous travaillons avec les NGOs. Nous pouvons gagner. Nous pouvons gagner en contact avec les autres pour faire advertisement pour nous, pour que les gens puissent adopter. Et à cause nous la loi, il permet nous pour travailler un certain timeline. So, en même temps, nous avons besoin de NGOs, nous pouvons prendre des animaux pour aider nous. Avec recruiting them, rehabilitate them pour assess si ils sont capables d'aller là.
But at the end of the day, Guerra, I'm going to say this in English because I know Therese might have an input in there. Like she says, the dogs are captured, the dogs are checked, and they are probably surrendered to the NGOs, the place such as SSPCA, Pet Haven, to rehabilitate the animal and hopefully find a home for the animal. But at the end of the day, there's a cost that comes with it. And we've seen recently most of these NGOs are struggling to find support. So will your evaluation, of course, I know we'll be concentrating on capturing or on collecting the dogs, but will there be a sustainable plan in place that will we're not just dumping the dogs on the NGOs, but the government will play a vital role in helping? Because, of course, there'll be a major influx. Some of them are holding up to 100 plus dogs. Have we assessed their facilities? Will they have enough space for the additional dogs? And feeding the dogs as well and keeping them in a sustainable way, healthily. So I don't know if, yes.
Yeah, I can comment on that. And that is, yeah, so we are working on both things actually together. So we're both working on the part, which is a very relevant question there. So we're both working on that part of the capture and handling of the dogs, of the very feral ones. but we're also working together with the government and with these NGOs or stakeholders on an action plan. And it is already in place here in the Seychelles. So it just need to be developed and kind of taking to the next level, so to speak. And these all things that you're addressing here will be a part of that action plan. Because of course, I mean, these shelters, there is a certain limit. And there is also international standards from how many dogs, depending on the size, the sex, or this a mother or a female with puppies and so on. So there are certain standards. How many dogs can you keep in one area? So we will work with all these things together, and so that will be now already on the long-term planning. But that is definitely one of the things that we're addressing. And when you look at it, like internationally on a feral dog population management plan, or a dog population management plan, because again, a lot of these dogs are not feral, they're not stray, but they are unsupervised. So we call it a dog population management plan. So to look at this and to have a success, you start by looking, are there legislations in place? How are they being implemented? Is there a registration nationally for the dogs? How is it being followed? Are there possibilities for those who are actually working for the government to take action on all these different legislations, like in practice? Can they, can these people who are not then overholding what their obligations are, do they get fined? Is it, so there are
implementing the laws, basically.
Implementing the law to work in the field, and not, having to go to court with each and every. So that there are all these things that we are working on together, and that will be our long-term planning.
Guerra, ça veut dire, en simplicité, si nous capables de prendre l'exemple, c'est également pareil, nous voyons, ben, trafic comme là, il y a sa possibilité pour nous donner étiquette, individu, sans même aller en cours, sa décision, nous sommes capables de prendre les autres même pour analyser la situation. Est-ce que peut-être nous parlons du même contexte qui les autres observateurs, inspecteurs qui passaient, nous voyons l'information que tel endroit, il y a des gens qui peuvent faire telle activité qui n'est pas nécessairement avec la loi, cependant, sa mandat et sa pouvoir pour laguer un petit peu sur de l'envers, pareil, nous dire qu'ils sont capables de prendre plus d'action, implémenter la loi.
Well, nous déjà on a mandat, nous avons besoin de renforcer. À cause nous déjà touch ça un petit point que nous payons un issue, que nous besoin d'altiquer la cour. Either it's an animal welfare or noise pollution. Nous on a un mandat pour nous donner des warnings.
Ça veut dire, si on nous prend l'exemple là, si tous les jours il y a des gens qui lèvent, sur l'objectif là, vous avez bon matin commencer par battre son lycéen, tous les jours et son neighbor, l'autre il peut être affecté par ça lycéen qui tous les jours peut être abusé par ça honneur. Est-ce que vous comment ça dit monde qui peut venir visiter après ça information qu'on gagne, on a tout droit right there and then pour prendre ça animaux avec ça dit monde ou donner fine ça dit monde, comment explique nous un petit peu sa situation?
Nous le base c'est pareil, ou peut faire une investigation. Yes, un dit monde pareil, on explique. Il lève bon matin tous les jours, bah son richesse. So nous gagnons call, nous allons nous investigate. Nous pas qu'à on the first day moi as an officer moi pas nous mon gagne complète qui dit monde. So it's their word against the owner.
Mais si on a l'évidence, si ça dit monde qui peut rapporter, il y a l'évidence pour montrer qui à la voilà tous les jours ça peut arriver. Est-ce qu'ils ont pensé en considération?
Yes, we do take into consideration l'évidence. C'est moi nous tout le temps emphasize le first investigation, second investigation. Pour nous adresser sa situation, we give them a warning. Nous avons une recommandation qui nous fait, qui passe de mon main as the unit officer. Après nous chief. Quand il gagne sien, nous hand over et quand il moun.
Combien de warning a dit mon il gagne avant les qu'ils autres prennent action?
Il gagne son verbal. Il gagne son recommandation. Ordinairement 3. But it depends on gravity, on situation. Si y a quelque chose qui nous est grave, yes, we do have the mandate pour nous aller confisqué par ou juste non un
Oui.
concrete information, evidence. Nous sort of mas parler là pour la
Oui.
police fait l'investigation.
Ok.
Il y a un protocole par indi, il y a un protocole.
Oui.
Il existe pour mas parler ou tu demandé previously.
Oui.
Les nous paye en masse abanicien.
Oui.
Moyen nous pour faire par NGO. Par un shelter ici de Maslow and non-euthanasia policy.
Oui.
But as NGO, internationally, il y a un protocole
Oui.
qui critère pour
Oui.
quitter lycée.
OK.
As we talk about the 5 freedoms,
Oui.
and pareil, ou peut quitter les animaux là. Peut-être il y a une maladie.
Oui.
One of the 5 freedoms is free from pain.
Oui.
Les animaux qui sont là pour payer manger, ils peuvent souffrir. You
Oui.
need to consider it too.
Ça veut dire nous peut cause par ben ka maladie, Therese, I'm hoping you catch on the conversation. We're asking in terms of Gira, she's mentioning, Gira is mentioning that certain shelters have a non-euthanasia policy. But at the end of the day, like she says, there are certain animals which are sick and living in pain. Will we be educating or training the shelters or perhaps even changing the mindset of the shelters? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Especially because some people are a no-go when it comes to
Yeah.
saying, putting the dog down. And what are your thoughts on that? And
Yeah, look,
what
so
are some of the implementations that we've been expecting?
So I've been fortunate enough to actually meet with people working
Yes.
for Pet Haven and
Yes.
SSPCA, and they are already on this mindset that quality of life
Yes.
is important.
Okay.
So what we need to realize is that there are certain ways of working.
Yes.
But then it comes back to again looking what is animal welfare,
Okay.
and we know that quality of life is the most important. It's not quantity of life.
Yes.
That is what humans have.
Yeah.
You know, we can't put an end to the misery.
Yes.
But that is what we are obliged to do. It is our obligation to save animal from pain.
Yes.
And from suffering.
Okay.
And that sometimes means that you have to take the difficult decision to say, this is not a quality life.
Yeah.
We will have to put an end to that.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to be taken easily, you know.
Yes.
But if you have a protocol that you can lean back on,
Yeah.
and say, this particular individual, how does it fulfill these points of the 5 freedoms, for
Okay.
example? It's about free from pain, being able to have natural behavior, and,
Yes.
and so on and so on. And if this individual is not fulfilling these criteria, we should let it, we should end its suffering.
Yeah.
And that is because the easiest thing is to say, we don't want to cull it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an animal lover. I have dogs. I have cats at home. They're actually living together.
Yes.
It's
difficult to let
difficult,
go.
you know. But
Yes.
but for whom?
Yes.
For whom?
Who do
Are
we
you
put
ta-
as a priority? The
Exactly.
dog or the human
Yes.
feeling? Yes.
So, but I think that people are not stupid. You just need to reach out and to explain that the end of life
Yes.
is sometimes better than to continue the
A little bit of counseling,
the
can we call
misery.
that? Yeah.
But again, I think these are all these things
Yes.
that we need to. This is also that we are starting out to work with together.
I've
Yeah.
had a few conversations with certain people where they've said, listen, perhaps if we emphasize on sterilization, getting the dogs to be sterilized, eventually Seychelles will reach a point where most of the domesticated dogs in the homes are sterilized, and therefore we can implement certain policies whereby if you're I'm sorry to say, if a nasty human being and you have no love in your heart for animals, then you are completely on a ban list and you are not allowed to become a pet owner. I don't know how feasible that is, but what are your thoughts on that?
You know, I would love that.
Yes.
But that is not possible in
Okay.
my country either, because you would love that for people with children as well,
Yes.
you know. But that is, so we're discussing that as well in the
Okay.
Scandinavian countries. Would you need like a license to be a dog owner?
Yes.
I think we're pretty far from that, unfortunately. But what we do have the possibility, and that is already in your legislation,
Yeah.
just needs to be implemented, is that you can actually, you know, if there is a complaint, you're already doing that, visiting these places, and you know, is this a owner fulfilling the requirements that are in the law, and so on. So it's about continuing what you're already doing, but taking it up to another level.
Yes.
Nous avons un système license ici, non? Pour policiers, si je ne me trompe, est-ce que nous, là, que longtemps, nous connaissons un an, que les licences, nous avons des médailles, nous avons des métiers, nous avons des détails, etc., et les autres licences qu'ils ont payées. Est-ce qu'il y a encore une existence, ça, ou sinon, est-ce qu'ils changent totalement, complètement?
Il y a quelque chose qui nous peut travailler là, ensemble avec l'enregistrement. Vraiment, il y a ça emphasis qui nous peut dire besoin d'enregistrer.
Oui.
Et après les nous enregistrer là, il y a un assessment qui nous a fait. Et pas si c'est l'enregistrement, on vient que nous l'office nous enregistrer. Nous besoin à visiter et advise si l'environnement est faisable.
Idéal, oui.
Pour les animaux.
Oui.
Si il n'est pas faisable, nous avons besoin de dire, nous pas enregistrer, nous advise qui. It's either you find another home or we take it. Comme maman c'est, nous la
ça veut dire ça est basé le rapport ça, hein? Si c'est bien collé, dit tel peut maltraiter ses animaux, on pas quoi conducive pour ces animaux là. Ça veut dire on a tout droit venir contre moi venir que ça dit pour venir checker.
On a mandat pour moi venir visiter, nous avons une checklist qui adresse each freedoms. Qui nous guettait pour nous connaître. À cause ou à l'endroit, il y en a, pareil, il y en a un endroit pour ces animaux. But it's not big enough. So,
est-ce qu'il y a un certain standard qui nous peut mettre en place? Therese, I don't know if you want to add on to that. For example, we have certain people who has kennels outside. Based on the size and breed of the animal, are there policies in place that in regulations that the size of the kennel should be X amount of
length,
in
our regulations we have actually nous écrit nous pour nos recommandations nous add on to it pour nous expliquer autres qui size qu'on besoin but nous essayer pour nous accommoder pareil ou comprendre dit mon pas financially capable of doing. C'est as long qui est confortable. Nous disons, OK, là, il est confortable. Il n'y a pas vraiment besoin, like, point to point, what is written. As long il can accommodate the breed, il y a une place pour les bouger, pour les dévirer, et ou pas besoin de quitter là-dedans. Il besoin sortir, masser.
Il besoin faire l'exercice. Et pareil nous-mêmes. Combien nous qui nous animaux nous sortir de la case, dégoûter un petit peu, nous les pieds, masser un petit peu, faire nous l'exercice. Également pareil, plus important encore, dépendant de quelle qualité les siens ou en a, aux animaux ou en a. I'm assuming, Therese, you can help us on that. Based on the breed or the type of dog that one is keeping at home, there's a certain recommendation for exercise or for treat. I'm presuming,
No, you know, it's you can compare it to your kids. You know, you can't just feed them and have a bed for them, and then that's it. Of course, dogs need to be able to do their natural behaviors, and I think one of these things, and that is for everybody. Again, this is a dog owner responsibility that you need to understand. If you want to have a dog, it's a commitment. It's a commitment for.
It's like having kids.
Yeah, it's they do get independent at some stage. Dogs do not. You know, so it's even I wouldn't say I wouldn't compare it to children. In dogs are dogs, humans are humans. But to have a dog is to actually take on an individual, a living being that will be depending on you for the rest of its life. And that is to realize, so if you have all puppies are cute, and they, because they are actually, I mean, science shows this is the faces that makes us feel that we want to take care of them, and that's normal, But when you then acquire your puppy, you have to realize that this is commitment for 12 to 15 years, So if this dog eventually in 1.5 or 2 years develops like a skin rash, allergy, or whatever, you need to be prepared so that you can take care properly of this dog, bring it to the vet, pay for the medication, maybe a special food or whatever it's needed for it.
Yeah.
So you can't look at this dog saying, oh, it's going itchy. We'll put it on the street and the government will take care of it. You know, that is pour chacun.
Yeah.
That is really responsibility for everybody who is having the idea of getting a dog, to understand that this is a commitment. And that is something that you need to change a little bit in people's mindsets, right? But listen, again, I think that you are all, I'm so impressed by the Seychelles, like the way that you're already moving forward. Here we are on national television talking about animal welfare and this problem. I've worked for the government in one of the Scandinavian countries as an animal welfare inspector, as a vet. So I've also been out there in a situation where dogs were tied to a car tire. There were 20 dogs, you know. People were there buying puppies from that man because it was cheap. So it is in everybody's mind. It's not just here. And it's just also important for me to point out that, listen, you are doing a fantastic thing already by raising this awareness. But now hopefully people will look at this program and maybe, you know,
start thinking and having a conversation about it.
Is it a good thing to acquire a dog if we don't have one? If we have dogs now, how many dogs can we have? Maybe it's good with 1 or 2, but we can't have, you know, 4,
5, 6.
No, exactly. If we have a female or if we have a male which is not castrated, let's now go with this dog to this campaign where the castrations also sometimes are done for free. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there is like no excuse not to jump on that, because so these are all things that I think that you are addressing now, which I wish that we did better, you know.
Ça veut dire que quand on peut respecter l'implémentation, of course, là, il peut faire son évaluation, il peut faire son investigation, etc., prendre un petit peu de data qui est amassé. Quand on peut respecter, peut-être, plus l'implémentation, ou sinon, nous plus l'état pour nous analyser l'information qu'on a collectée.
Okay, so honestly, moi pense que it's step by step.
Okay.
From Sakili IP offert, nous pay focus slow training first. Pour nous reinforce and implement, nous besoin de monde qui well versed.
Est-ce que nous pouvons dire pour animal welfare ou soit nous pouvons implémenter ça dans NGOs aussi pour montrer
Yes, yes. À cause en même à les invini, nous involve autres. Pour autres connaître qui peut passer, pour les nous peut reach out, pour nous mettre nos plans ensemble, autres connaître dans nos plans qui nous fait sa visite, nous fait sa assessment. Pareil là, for and foremost, training. More emphasize beaucoup on training. Les staff sont compétents, est facile pour implémenter, reinforce. Il est facile pour venir dire et qu'un dit moi dans sa mandat, I have the paper, I have the training. I can do it and I will do it. Comment we commencer? Because you know, sexual people is not easy. Sometimes they request that they see what you are capable of.
Ça veut dire ça va dire monde qui pour travailler avec après ça ben training, je prends une identification pour montrer par Elodie, mon public les autres et aussi un petit peu les autres capacités, les autres training qu'ils ont recevoir qui pour dire ça dit monde à cause de ça il y a un traitement et pas n'importe qui peut passer pour les petites dates en abondance. Il y a des gens qui sont sélectés sur mon président pour prendre les autres badges, etc.
Yes. Pareil là, nous descendons dans nos badge dog control, training we get for her, it's certified, il y a bonus. From there, nous renforçons la loi qui nous descend, nous peut travailler là, nous peut peser là pour educate. One of the things qui nous peut follow là, we need to educate.
Ça veut dire nous pouvons impliquer en campagne sensibilisation avec mon public?
Yes, nous pouvons travailler là. Pour les moments, during the past years, je peux focus on schools. Par ici, you start with the small ones, they go home, they educate mom and dad. The younger generation, pour monter avec. Nous on a un plan pour nous, en collaboration avec les NGOs. Pour nous faire l'impliquer en plein.
Peut-être qu'il y a des gens qui peuvent demander, are we going to be encouraging more shelters in Seychelles? Perhaps if there are certain people with large properties and the capacity to want to help out, would we be considering more shelters in Seychelles?
Well,
Gina? Yes, Gia?
this can be considered,
Okay.
but pendant processes they have to go through.
Obviously.
À cause il y en a un standard,
Yes.
ou pour besoin un an ou plan,
Yes.
et you need people. Something nous pay wada nous ben shelters en ces moments, it's very lack on human power.
Human resources, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So, nous pas encourager quelque chose comme ça because we need it.
Yeah.
À cause là, nous des shelters, these are overbooked.
Yes.
Yeah, and we still have so much to do. Nous pas renforcer nos sterilization.
Yes.
Pour dire mon
Renforcer
pays.
l'adoption rather than what un petit papi, peut-être? Yeah.
Well, nous encourager,
Oui.
nous educate Lola.
Oui.
But
Mais c'est ma petite-
as
bien
you
sûr.
know, it's human behavior.
Yes.
Nous pas vraiment en contrôle. C'est through education, nous pour essayer,
Oui.
pour nous renforcer, nous faire nos stérilisations,
Oui.
nous en mesure, nous enregistrer et nous emphasize responsabilité.
Définitivement.
Like nous can join zot halfway, but they need to make an effort to come halfway.
Marie-Thérèse dit, it's a mindset. So at
Yeah.
the end of the day, on a un principe, on a une décision pour prendre, mais c'est aussi important pour vous au courant, responsabilité qui vient avec un an et des animaux. Time is not in our favor, unfortunately. We're going to have to wrap up this conversation. Hopefully, when you come back to us, we can have another conversation. Just a follow-up story on what's going on and how it's going on. Gira aussi, elle va venir, elle va rendre une petite visite encore au son compatriote qui est de l'autre côté. Therese, quickly, I've got a minute. Any last words you would like to share with members of the public, especially the pet owners or anyone in general?
Yes, I think really to raise
Yes.
the awareness of the dog owner responsibility, because yes, as you say, there are need of more shelters.
Yes.
The government needs training
Yes.
and so on. But if we don't stop the flow of
Yes.
this non-supervised dogs into this, it will just continue.
It's a vicious cycle, isn't
You
it?
have to understand, if you get a dog, you have a commitment for 12, 15 years. You can't just put it on the street
Yeah.
when you're not feeling comfortable with it anymore. You need to do the castration to stop 2 dogs from becoming 80 dogs in 4 years.
Bon, Kira?
Yes.
Dernière parole, vitement, avant nous la 1 minute, s'il vous plaît.
Bon, si bon, le même c'est
Oui.
responsabilité.
Yes,
Connaît, si nous pas capables,
parfait.
oui, nous arrêter, nous pas faire.
Voilà.
We need to take care of them.
Et peut-être on va ajouter aussi, coopération membre public aussi, nous encourageons pour vous, si vous voyez aucun dimon peut maltraiter les animaux, peut abuser, notifier. Est-ce que vous avez un numéro de l'office, Gira?
Yes, pour le moment, mon numéro pour moi, yes.
Ah bon, non, mais c'est pas tout. Est-ce qu'ils ont un passe de réseau social?
Yes, non, un passe de réseau
Qui
social.
dit à notifier les autres, si en cas il y a aucun, peut-être ben calabi ou soit les animaux qui peuvent masser en Iran?
Il y en a nos pages Facebook, c'est
Oui.
for the Ministry of
Okay.
Agriculture and
Oui.
Climate Change.
Le département n'a pas un landline.
Non, non, nous
Ça
landline.
veut dire
Yes.
capable département
L'agriculture.
animal welfare.
Yes.
All right, so
Animal
là voilà,
unit.
vous êtes capable de gagner contact avec son office et plus d'informations, même aussi, papa dit le côté des animaux, mais plus d'informations qui m'a hier, le policier m'a assez et peut-être un petit peu plus d'informations si ou un monde qui peut-être peut décider pour ou prendre sa responsabilité, donne sa soutien, mais par contre, pareil, Thérèse dit, il est important pour nous, comme membres d'individus, qui ont des animaux, comprend qu'il donne un rôle et responsabilité pour ces animaux, si tout d'abord cabane lycéen, pour 12 à 15 ans, est-ce qu'on parie pour prendre cas avec un animaux pour sa quantité de temps? Est-ce que au commitment, il cesse avec ces animaux? Pareil, il dit, les enfants, nous viennent dépendre, mais les animaux, et si tout le côté lycéen, ils peuvent tout le temps dépendre où. Est-ce qu'on parie pour prendre sa responsabilité? C'est une question que je vais avec aujourd'hui au matin. Entre-temps, ça c'était le Topik Conversation.